Theme from a summer place, from a summer place. I'll stab you in the fucking face. You fucking bitch. Why did you paint all the red, Ewan? What's all the red there for, Ewan? Still to this day, people fucking ask. God damn it. Oh, why paint all the red if you're just going to paint over it? Because you can shut up! Why even paint the picture at all? Why don't you just fucking imagine you painted it and say, oh, that's good enough, that'll do. Why bother? Because it's all part of the fucking process, that's why. And if somebody asks you to paint a bloody, gnarly, nasty picture of Cerebus the Aardvark, then red is going to be a pretty important part of that piece, you prick. And since there was going to be blood involved in this, I thought it only proper to blood up the blood piece with all the blood in the blood in the world. So I did all the red, put all the red in there, all over it. And then, but also it's I like painting, like, you can see the grey is like opaques itself, that's a word, quite well over the red. And what it allows me to do is leave these areas across Cerebus's face, Mr. the Aardvark, and other parts of his body, where large blood splats are going to be, like on his nose and his leg and his arm and stuff, and then you'll see later on the other parts of the painting too. So for now I'm painting in his fucking fur or skin or whatever the hell it is he's got over his weird little mutant body. Usual grey with a little bit of raw umber in there. I like it raw. That's why I got a vasectomy. Just to make it a little bit more earthy. Just a bit more of an earthy grey rather than a grey-y grey. And I like that Cerebus is made of like quite chunky shapes. If you do, convert him from a 2D to a slightly more 3D looking image, because it's fun to paint those like chunky shapes. You can go in details with like furry parts and wrinkles and creases here and there, but for the most part it's sort of bulky chunky shapes which are fun to paint in it. Oh, it's just a bit of fun. And so that's what we're doing, just highlights and shadows and all the bits, the eyes and the teeth there. Ugh. I kept the teeth quite cartoony because I didn't think going into detail on his teeth would really do the piece. Well, it just didn't seem necessary. His weird fucking necklace thing, which is just like, I don't know, it looks like some coins sort of hanging around his neck, mostly in shadow. I was really happy with the shadow under his jaw, over his body, that area. It looks quite cool. Like his tummy, he's got a little bit of a paunch on his tummy. Bandages, these wraps, they're always fun to paint. I like painting those on everything. If I paint Ninja Turtles, they've got those wrapped wrist things. If I paint Gun Viking, he's got them too. Why not give them to Cerebus also? Because they're fun to paint. You only need a couple of layers of paint to make them look like good. And as before, leaving the red spaces is good because it gives like a red shadow to the piece, so it fits in with the colour theme overall in the thing. Dead bodies. That hand, it kind of looks like it should be the hand of the body in the front, but it's supposed to be two bodies, which I think by the end of the painting is sort of, you can tell it's two bodies, but at this point it looks like it's one cut into pieces. I don't know. A little bit of a challenge painting the upside down face, because you're painting the light from above but on the lower, on the underside of his facial structure, so that was a little bit of a challenge, a fun one. That's where you've really got to pay attention to like what the fuck the face is made of, which lumps and bumps go where, and I think I did okay. Put some volume in his hair. I was quite happy with how that looked. I don't paint hair often because it's a pain in the fucking arsehole, but I was pretty happy with it. And there's nothing special, it's just some sort of fucking strokes of paint, but it did all right. And then in his clothes, again, sort of utilising the red as a shadow. And you know, he's laying in a pool of blood, so it makes sense that there'd be like an upward glow of red, kind of, into the rest of his body. And I left his mouth red as well. And this is a fun bit. Painting in the floor, as always, is often one of my favourite parts of the painting, because it does sort of almost literally grounds the painting. And in this case, absolutely does that. And leaving the gap of the red. And that's another reason to paint the red underneath, is because that's whole portions of the painting I just don't have to actually paint because it's done already. Painting the ground around the red, leaving the blood on the ground for the blood. Ah, it's bloody magic. That's what that is. Bloody magic. Fur. I gave him like a fur throw thing on his shoulders. He doesn't typically wear one, but as I was drawing it, I thought it needed it. Short, sharp brush strokes for the fur. You can do them individually, like paint individual strands of fur, but that's a bit painstaking and a bit shit. And if you do that and the rest of the painting isn't done in that kind of way, it really stands out. So it's not often the best idea to do that. So it's good to use the same sort of strokes you would use in the rest of the painting, but short, sharp strokes to give the impression of fucking fur or whatever. Orange for the background. I just thought it needed just a little bit of something to brighten it up, to give contrast to the blood and everything. Painted with a flat brush, which I used to paint like solely, exclusively with thick flat brushes, adding in some orange to the piece as well, to the characters, the actors in the piece, just to again blend it into the painting a bit more. But then the flat brushes are more conducive to like larger paintings. You can see I'm using one here for bits of the knife because it just sort of works a bit. But I don't paint too big these days, so I don't get a chance to really use the flat brushes too much. Maybe I could. I probably could. I mean, I'm obviously bloody brilliant enough that I can make it work. I just, tends to be a little bit easier with the thinner, slim brushes. Red, enhancing some of the bloodstains that are already there and adding others here and there. Little bloody nose and some blood stains on little bits here and there, little splats and shit. Just put in blood. The person who commissioned it said, paint me a bloody nasty fucking Cerebus piece, and so I did, and that's what you can see. I got the old toothbrush trick. You paint on the brush, very, very, very wet paint, and then you fucking flick it, get some texture in there, a bit of grit, a bit of dirt, you whore. And then outlines. I know I say this with every painting I do, but I do feel like I'm sort of progressing with every painting I do. I'm really happy with the outlines in this one, because there are some parts I just didn't touch with outlines whatsoever. I really tried to put the outlines only where there's the most shadow and or where certain things needed to be defined. Like the hand, I felt needed some definition and to look more in the foreground, his hand holding the dagger. And then the hand in the background, for instance, no outlines, just left that looking sort of orange so it blends in a bit more. And then almost the entire top of Cerebus's body, his like shoulders, arm and ears, no outlines on them. Then they get their own treatment. A little bit of reflection in the blood, just to give that a little bit more sort of like texture and volume. Didn't do much, but it helps a little bit. And then just, little bits of shadow and texture, little dibs and dabs and doodads here and there, and we get the white, the best colour of all, obviously. Fur, giving this like rim lighting to fur it's not necessarily difficult, but it takes a little bit of attention. You can't just like outline the fur, you kind of have to paint into it a bit. If you look at photos, and this is how I think of it when I'm doing it, if you look at like a photo of a cat in front of a window and it's got almost this halo of white fur, you've got to try to sort of mimic that, and that's kind of what I tried to do with the fur on his back. And it's not perfect, but I'm still really happy with how it came out in this painting in particular. Loads of little white blobs on the blood, just to make it look all wet and shiny. A white pen to add highlight and depth to the blood on the floor. A little bit of red spray paint. I don't know how clear it is that I'm doing that. Take the tape off and look at that. Oh, it's all fucking... You might say that's a bloody good painting. A bloody... Yeah,